All right, the next piece of this observer pattern is the actual observer list. And if you recall from our slides earlier, the subject, and the task is going to be our subject, has this observer list. And that's going to be the list of observers that task is going to notify when it's done. And this is its own separate thing with add and remove and index of and all of those methods on it. So let's take a minute and build out our observer list before we can add that list to our task object. So back in our main.js file, I've got my task, I've got my 3 services. The next thing we're going to add is our observer list. So our observer list is just going to be an object. It says list, but really is an object because we're going to add a whole bunch of functions to it. So we're going to set it up with the constructor pattern and create it as a function. And really, at its core, the observer list is going to be just an array. And that's it. Now we've got our list. Now that we've got our list, we have to add all the methods to it. So the obvious methods for our observer list are going to start with add. I want to add an observer to the list. So we'll do a prototype. Observer list. The method is going to be add. And we are going to pass into that an object. And in this case, we're just going to return and push whatever is passed in onto our observer list. So as observers are registering themselves, whatever they send to add observer is just going to be pushed onto that list. The next thing we're going to add is get, because if we're going to add, we also have to be able to get. And so here we've got our get method, and we're passing in the index, and then we're just handing it back. So for right now, for the observer list, that should do it for us. We're going to add maybe 1 or 2 other methods later, but I want to get to a working point fairly quickly here. So for right now, for our observer list, we've got an add and we've got a get, and that's really all we need. So let's take that and leave it there, and now let's turn task into a subject.